If I had to choose a film genre that interests me the least, I would go with biopics. Even if they're well produced, well written, they have amazing Oscar worthy performances, they just tend to stick with me the least. I just feel like biopics about celebrities that we already know and admire is kind of pointless with the amount of footage and the amount of information that is accessible to all of us through the internet. We kind of know everything that is made public about celebrities. If you are a director that wants to take a certain story about a celebrity and make a movie about it, it better be presenting something new. But even if you are doing everything that you have to do as a director, viewers tend to wait for the cliches throughout the movie. Even in well-made biopics, viewers still wait for the director to reenact the highlight of the celebrity's life or for them to actually show the real footage of the celebrity. So why are there so many biopics, and specifically recently? The reason has to be is that making movies, yes, it's an art form, but it is also a business. And you know what sells really easily? Big names. Get a mediocre movie, slap an Elvis Presley name on it, you have got a mainstream, Oscar worthy, blockbuster, Oscar bait type of movie. It's either a cash grab or a hollow fan service. And don't get me wrong, I know that there are hundreds of really well made biopics, but we will get to that later. Biopics in general tend to focus about performances. Get you a really good actor, dress him up, and put a lot of makeup to make him look like the celebrity that you want to portray, write some charming monologues, sprinkle some good musical performances, you have got an amazing movie. Specifically, if you got the right actor, if you got an actor that looks like the celebrity, you can recreate iconic moments from new angles, you can flush out a new perspective. Possibilities are endless. But the thing is, the movie becomes a tale that you have already seen as a viewer. It becomes more of a celebration of the artist than to actually dive deep into who this man or this woman was. It becomes a competition about how close of an impression an actor can do to a celebrity. These movies often glorify the celebrity, and of course, they have to seek the approval of the existing family members. And of course, with all the compromisations and talkings, they reach the conclusion that they have to make a feel good kind of movie, and they can just gloss over any uncomfortable facts or uncomfortable information or uncomfortable things that the celebrity did. Because, of course, if you are someone who's going to an Elvis Presley movie, you are not expecting the director to completely diss the man. You don't want an entire movie talking about how wrong it is of Elvis to date a 14-year-old girl. That's why we didn't get to see that side of the story in Buzz Luhrmann's movie. This is mainly the reason why a Michael Jackson biography would not actually stick. It would be so challenging with the amount of controversies and rumors and stories about the man. If you are going to address these types of problems, it's going to be the center of your movie. Or you will look like you are just brushing over them. Or you will look like you are completely ignoring them. And no director wants that type of rumor around his movie. And if a director chose to highlight these types of problems, existing family members will have a lot to say about that, which is what happened with Sofia Coppola's Priscilla. Elvis Presley's daughter Lisa had major problems with the script of Priscilla, and there are several leaked emails between her and the director where she asks her to remove certain parts and that she doesn't see her dad that way. And it's really wrong to write these types of stories about someone who's dead and cannot defend himself, and that she did not see any of these things actually in front of her. But what I'm trying to say is that there's going to be a lot of hassle. So usually directors try to gloss over the celebrity's life by jumping from one highlight to another to another to another. And between those highlights, they can just make like an obnoxiously loud and obnoxiously colorful montage to move and to jump from one really important moment to another really important moment, never really giving enough time for any character development or for the viewer to actually understand anything new. We often don't see a lot of the backstories of these characters because the first act of the movie, the main thing that it wants to do is to jumpstart the movie, and they want to reach into the successful moment where this artist became the man that he is or the woman that she is. You can hardly see any bold or original decision taken in such movies. The cinematography is usually medium or wide shots just to make the performance do all the heavy lifting. When I watch such movies, yes, sometimes I get a kick out of it if it's a celebrity that I really am interested in, but if it's not, I kind of wonder, why am I watching this movie? I have neither gained any new information about this artist. I haven't seen any really insightful or thoughtful or soulful moments in his life. I kind of know the plot of the movie, so why am I watching it? And I can tell you like some of the cliche, tropey things that we've all seen: falling out with the family, having an obnoxious, annoying, and evil producer, getting into alcohol or drug abuse problem, losing all of your friends throughout your journey, but you do have a cathartic performance at the end of the movie to tie everything with a big knot. Personally, I believe that biopics has to tell a new story. I want to see behind the facade. I want to see the intricacies of the character. The best example I have of a recent movie that did that is Spencer. We don't get to see Princess Diana jumping from one important event to another important event to another important. No, no, no. We actually see the intricacies of the character. Small little details that makes Princess Diana the woman that she is. After watching the movie, I feel like I have not seen Princess Diana that way. I did see a glimpse of the woman that she is. I've gained a new experience. And no matter how far she is from the person I am, I still felt like I did relate to her. It made me understand myself more as a woman. If I told you I'm watching a Princess Diana movie and I will feel any connectedness to the character with all the gloriness of her life, I wouldn't have believed you, but the director chose to take a new angle, chose to tell a story that might have been said before and explore it through a historical character. The same happens with Jackie, where we get to see how grief eats you up as a person. I learned so much about grief and so much about losing someone while watching Jackie. I learned so much about mental illness and depression through watching Spencer. And this is what I'm looking for when I am watching a biopic. I don't want a loud, obnoxious montage to make me feel like I have adrenaline rush throughout the entire movie. No, I want a somber movie that makes me feel like I have learned something new about the person, I've learned something new about myself. I know that I can't ask every single biopic to do the same thing that Spencer or Jackie did, because this is a certain direction that the director wants to go for. I understand. I'm not asking for the same thing. What I'm asking for is for the director to find a new angle, find a new story, find something that's worth telling. Don't get me a Wikipedia page inspired movie. He did that and that, he performed there and there, he married that woman, he's divorced from that woman. I don't want such stories. I want human stories. I want stories that focuses on the little tiny details that makes us all human through the eyes of a character that lives a very different life from a normal person like me. That's not so much to ask, right? Just add something fresh to the conversation. In Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs, or again in Spencer, these movies chose moments that I wouldn't imagine someone as huge as these names go through. This is how movies connect us all as human beings. These movies choose to portray the character's mind, their soul, their issues, their mentalities, their state of being at a certain moment of their lives. And with this certain moment, you get to understand more about them as people in general. But also don't overplay it, like in Marilyn Monroe's Blonde that came out last year, where it felt like she's hysterical 99% of the movie. She is just so much to handle. And I know that this movie wanted to portray her as a tragic hero with a nightmare lens, and Ana de Armas actually did an amazing job portraying her, but it just felt like the movie kind of portrayed her as a hysterical victim rather than a normal person who had lots of problems, who went through a lot of problems, which is something that Scorsese doesn't do, for example. He rather wants to portray the highs and lows of the character that he's portraying, like in Raging Bull, exposing the harsh realities that they go through. While stating that your movie is based on a true story does pique the interests of the viewer, some biopics actually choose plot over facts. And some of the more intimate scenes rely heavily on the writer's vision rather than the fact checking. And while we understand that as viewers, we subconsciously and unintentionally feel like whatever's on screen happened. It is difficult to separate what's fiction and what's fact when you're watching a movie. You don't want to make an entire thesis about the celebrity just so you can watch the movie. Are the audience meant to be educated or entertained after all? This begs the question, is it fair for the real life people who went through this, whether it's the celebrity, the side characters, is it fair for them that their story is being told with a tinge of fiction, whether for the better or for the worse? Unlike in the social network, Mark Zuckerberg didn't actually set up Face Smash because he was sad that his girlfriend dumped him. Imagine viewing your life and seeing that the director fabricated facts about your life just because it's better for the story. But some might argue if you want a fact-based type of story about a celebrity, then we are creating a documentary. This is not a biopic. And this begs the question, why are we making biopics? It's either you can make a really good documentary or let me see the human condition behind the celebrity. If it's meant to be informative, then why with the so many twisted facts and the misleading information? With Priscilla, Sofia Coppola wrote and directed the movie. It was under the supervision of Priscilla herself. This is a very well thought of movie because it's actually released a year after the hit mainstream movie about Elvis, which completely ignored Priscilla's existence in his life. The woman had barely 10 minutes in the entire almost 3 hour movie. And although Sophia did side that she was interested in writing this movie way before Elvis and it was based on Priscilla's memoir, I cannot just ignore or call it a coincidence that these movies are released a year apart. It feels like a reaction, a response. Sophia is known to be a director with a very breathy, airy type of direction. She is by no means a deep or a versatile director. She does have her own mold, but she's good at it. She chooses to direct stories about a woman who's privileged and she kind of struggles to find her identity because of all this privilegedness. And I mean, Sophia herself comes from a very privileged place as a director, and she did cite that she felt a lot of struggles to find her own self and her own voice because of the shadow that she has always left behind, the shadow of her father. So if there's anyone who's going to direct a story about Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian or Priscilla, it has got to be someone who did grow up between the rich people and in privilege. And although I am not the biggest fan of hers, I did admire some of the aspects in Priscilla, particularly the way she wanted to portray the coming of age of a really, really young woman drowned in everything she has ever asked for. Priscilla has always been a pop culture sensation with her really loud, obnoxious eyeliner, her poofy hair, and she reminds me of Lana Del Rey. These types of celebrities that kind of looks like a facade behind a person. I was first acquainted with Priscilla when I was really young and I was browsing Tumblr and Pinterest. And this is why the movie starts with Priscilla actually doing her signature look, which inspires a very sad story while you're watching the movie and you realize that this style is not actually what she wanted. This is not the style that she wanted. This was the way Elvis wants to see her. But this is the way the world got to see her as well. One of the coolest stories about the movie is that they wanted the ending scene to be Priscilla wearing pants. Because when you watch the movie, you realize that Elvis Presley wanted her to dress a certain way, to dress in certain colors, to avoid patterns, to add this obnoxious eyeliner. So she wanted the movie to end with Priscilla looking nothing like the way we or Elvis ever knew her. The way the director wanted Priscilla to be portrayed as a really innocent, naive, and you might think that she wasn't able to handle all of this luxury, but actually, according to the movie, Priscilla was able to deal with all of the crazy things that came with dating Elvis. And mind you, she was 14, which is something that Sofia Coppola did not shy from throwing it at the audience's face and not kinda sugarcoat it. There are several scenes of Elvis Presley commenting, calling her baby or little girl or little one, which is something that was not portrayed in last year's Elvis. Again, I know they are telling two different stories, but even the choice of the actress that was playing Priscilla in Elvis was deliberately chosen to be a little bit older than what Priscilla was when she was dating Elvis. Watching Sofia Coppola and watching the way she wants to portray Priscilla, it gives off Lolita vibe in a very uncomfortable way. And watching her transformation from a little girl into a wannabe woman, a wannabe lady, someone who is still very young but dresses up and looks like an older woman. And you can see that the way she talks and the way she kind of responds to what's happening around her is still very naive and very innocent, but it contrasts the obnoxious makeup that she was doing, and it feels like she is playing an older woman. She's pretending to be one. The screenplay of the movie focuses on how Elvis Presley contributed almost entirely into making Priscilla the character that she is. He controlled the way she talks, the way she speaks. The youthful, soft, feminine appearance that she had as a young teenager is completely flipped into forced maturity. And you can see the movie telling the story of a very submissive woman gradually finding her own voice, finding her own identity, and realizing that even if I get to leave Graceland, even if I get to leave the biggest name on the planet, I kind of want to explore the person that I am without Elvis Presley, because again, she did see him as a very, 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 very young woman. That's why the movie ends with a car scene where she drives off of Graceland with a smile on her face, and she looks nothing like the beginning scene of the movie. Another movie that actually has a great ending is Spencer, where it has a very, very similar ending, where Princess Diana is driving her car with her two children at the back seat, driving away from the royal palace. It feels like this euphoric experience. Both women felt entrapped in a very large, intimidating, strict place, and both of them go through journeys of grief and anger and denial, and it ends with acceptance that they are not going to get anything more than they already had. Elvis will not change, the royal family will not change. Maybe this is not the life that I want, and them driving away with their cars is just the beginning of a new life. I'm not the biggest fan of Priscilla in general because I felt like the movie had so much more potential than what it actually ended up portraying. The movie decided to tell the story of another Presley, Priscilla. The movie portrayed how Elvis Presley struggled to cope with Priscilla's airiness and femininity. And the movie did mock and make fun of Elvis Presley's fake masculinity, how it's all based on delusion. The movie's main goal was to shed light on this bizarre relationship of a 24-year-old man and a 14-year-old woman. I mean, girl. How Priscilla actually, despite being in a very young age, was able to handle a lot of the heavy and burdening decisions that she had to take, coping with all the rumors of Elvis Presley cheating on her, leaving Elvis Presley. She delves deep into what is it like to be a side character. What is it like to be in the shadows of a really famous person? Elvis and Me takes the reader, and so does the movie, into a journey in Priscilla's past. We get to see behind the glamour and behind all the luxury. Priscilla's memoir tells the raw and heavy and unfiltered view of what is it like to be living in Graceland. What is it like to be dating the man behind all of this music? Being constantly under the scrutiny of the public eye, it just doesn't shy away from telling the story the way it is. It kind of peels back the Elvis Presley mystique. And after all, it is a testament of the power of love, friendship, and how it's important to know yourself before trying to love someone else. You will not be able to. With this beautifully written memoir and Sofia Coppola's distinctive and visionary approach to storytelling and nuanced narratives, the movie has succeeded to tell a new story. One of Sofia Coppola's signature directorial techniques is to craft an atmosphere. She is known for her groove, for her mood. Her movies are just vibes. Maybe they're not the best stories, maybe they're not the best screenplays, but they are definitely very, very distinct and unique mood. Coppola loves to focus on intimate and personal narratives. She loves to portray complex humans with a delicate touch. Overall, I really enjoyed Priscilla, and I hope more movies like Jackie or Spencer, and maybe a little bit more like Priscilla, to tell me stories about people that I already know, but about stories that I don't know.